Hello, Namaskar, Vanakkam, the last chapter of your first textbook of Exploring Society, and this one is called Understanding Markets. उसके ऊपर एक 50 मार्क्स का टेस्ट पेपर करते हैं so that we are able to revise the chapter, test how well you are prepared. So if you have seen the explanation videos, हिंदी में देखा हो या इंग्लिश में देखा हो, after seeing that, come here so that you are able to test yourself as to whether you are well prepared for the exam or not as far as this chapter is concerned. So let's get started. Okay, it's a 50 mark test paper. We'll start as usual with the MCQs. Rohan shops for vegetables late at night in a weekly market and notices prices are much lower at night. Which market principle best explains this? Why is it that the prices are lower when it is night time? The seller increases prices when there is less supply. Seller lowers prices to avoid carrying unsold perishable stock. Buyers bargain harder at night, or government controls night prices. The correct option is option B, because he obviously does not want to carry back the tomatoes and the potatoes and the onions and the cauliflowers. So he will reduce the price so that he can dispose of the stock. So sellers want to clear perishable goods before they spoil, so in that case they reduce prices at night. Analyze the following situations. Which situation shows how consumer preference shapes production? कि production पर किस तरह से effect पड़ता है because of consumer behavior. Okay, consumer यानी कि people like you and me. A wholesaler increases the number of shops supplied. Buyers ask for refrigerators with higher BEE star, which is showing your energy rating of an electronic appliance. Sellers bargain aggressively, or the government releases minimum support price. So यहाँ पर the consumer preference किसमें पता चल रहा है? Option B में पता चल रहा है, because I am saying that I want a 5-star rating का refrigerator. I want a 5-star rating का air conditioner, right? So you will say that okay, 10 में से 8 people are preferring a 5-star rating. So let me stock more of those kind of refrigerators or air conditioners. So the correct option in this case will be option B, because higher demand for energy efficient appliances pushes manufacturers to produce them. Which term is used in economics? Because the shopkeeper will give that feedback to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer will think that okay, let's not supply the ordinary ones, let's supply only the 5-star rating refrigerators. Higher demand for energy efficient appliances pushes manufacturers to produce them. Which term is used in economics to describe something a person desires but it is not essential for survival? कि या मुझे चाहिए but अगर नहीं मिलता है तो ऐसा नहीं है कि मेरी जिंदगी नहीं कट सकती. Is it called need? Is it called public good? Is it called want, or is it called input? The correct option is C, that is want. That is, I want this. It does not mean that if I don't get this I will not be able to survive. So it is more a case of a desire. A guava seller, that is an amrud seller in a weekly market, insists on selling at 80 rupees per kg, but buyers are saying that no, we will not give more than 40 rupees a kg. They keep bargaining and finally settle at 50 rupees per kg. What does the agreed price of 50 rupees best represent? तो ये जो बार्गेन करके तोलमोल करके 50 रुपीस पर लेके आए हैं, तो इससे क्या रिप्रेजेंट होता है? So the 4 options are a fixed government control price, a price decided only by the buyer's income, a mutually acceptable price based on demand and supply, or a minimum price that farmers must get. The correct option is option C. A small grocery shop, that is both of them are mutually agreeing on this price of 50 rupees. A small grocery shop in a neighborhood allows regular customers to take goods throughout the month and pay at the end of the month. Over many years, the same families keep buying from this shop. So आपके घर के पास एक किराना शॉप है. Okay, उसको हर बारी पैसा नहीं देना पड़ता. आप 1 किलो आटा लेकर आते हैं. You don't pay it immediately. वो अपने नोटबुक में लिख लेता है, उसके बही खाते में लिख लेता है, right? And at the end of the month, they say that okay, you have to pay 890 rupees. So you clear the entire bill of the entire month, right? So which aspect of markets does this situation best highlight? Only price competition between shops. Markets have only one-time transactions. Market create long-term relationships and trust. Markets exist only for goods, not services. The correct option is option C. There is an element of trust. उनको भी मालूम है कि तुम भाग के कहीं नहीं जाने वाले हो, या यहीं पे रहने वाले हैं, कई सालों से मैं जानता हूं. So they will pay at the end of the month. You don't, insist that you have to pay the 60 rupees right now for the 1 kg of atta. The chapter explains that over time, buyers and sellers often develop trusted relationships that go beyond a single transaction and can last across generations. Somebody may know your grandfather, your father, and you, right? So there is an element of trust. A manufacturer of electric irons wants customers to know that the product saves electricity and is energy efficient. Which label on the box will most strongly communicate this to buyers? Agmark, FSSAI, ISI, or the BEE? So whenever we are talking about energy efficiency, we talk about the BEE star rating, which we just now discussed. The Bureau of Energy Efficiency gives star ratings. Most stars indicate higher energy. So it could be 3-star, it could be 4-star, it could be 5-star. Mainly 3-star and 5-star रहते हैं, right? Which appeals to consumers who want to save on electricity. तो आपका electricity bill over a period of time कम आता रहेगा. A farmer grows tomatoes in large quantities. That year, many farmers in his district also produce tomatoes, and markets are flooded with tomatoes. Okay, there is a glut, bolte hain, GLUT. That means there is too many tomatoes in the market. Prices crash. So when there is supply is more than demand, the prices will come down. So farmers feel it is not worth transporting their tomatoes. So आने जाने में जितना खर्चा होगा to carry the tomatoes and come back, उतना दाम तो उनको उस टोमेटोज का मार्केट में मिलेगा भी नहीं. Which market idea explains why prices became so low? Demand increased more than supply? No. Supply increased much more than demand? This is the one. Government fixed a high minimum price, or wholesalers stopped buying any tomatoes? The correct option is option B. A new biscuit brand appears in the market without any logo or certification mark on its packet. तो egg mark, ISI किसी का भी नहीं है, right? FSSI का. Parents hesitate to buy even though it is cheap. Which of these is the most important reason for their doubt? So the doubt is because it has no government quality certification. Option C. Government quality marks such as FSSAI on food products reassure consumers that the items meet minimum safety and quality standard, that the government is certifying कि ये आपको कंज्यूम करने लायक वस्तु है, okay, प्रोडक्ट है. A family orders groceries using a mobile app and the goods are delivered from a central warehouse to their home. Which kind of market interaction is this mainly an example of? I hope sabhi questions they are making you think before you choose, and always use the elimination method. Choose the 3 wrong ones before you say that okay, this is the correct one. Physical market with direct producer consumer contact, online market using an aggregator, wholesale market between 2 manufacturers, or domestic market between 2 countries. So D तो बिल्कुल नहीं है. फिजिकल मार्केट तो नहीं है बिकॉज इसमें मोबाइल ऐप से ऑर्डर किया जा रहा है. बी और सी में इट इज बी बिकॉज वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट एन ऑनलाइन ऐप. सो द करेक्ट ऑप्शन इज ऑप्शन बी. Last MCQ, a company buys crude petroleum from West Asia and brings it to India to refine it into petrol and diesel. In terms of trade, this flow of crude petroleum into India is called, this is pretty simple, export, import, domestic trade or retail trade. It is import of the oil. Okay, buying goods or services from other countries and bringing them into one's own country is known as import. So import और export के बीच का difference आपको मालूम होना चाहिए. Oh, और भी है, sorry. Which of the following goods or services is categorized as a need in economics? Golden jewels, water, okay, need, जिसकी की जरूरत हो. जेवरात की जरूरत हो, क्या आप जेवरात के बिना जिंदगी काट सकते हैं? ऑब्वियसली काट सकते हैं. पानी के बिना काट सकते हैं? जी नहीं. रनिंग फीवर. वाटर के बिना काट सकते हैं? जी नहीं. सो वाटर इज गोइंग टू बी द आंसर, बट लेट्स लुक एट ऑप्शन सी एंड डी. सिल्वर यूटेंसिल्स, नो. अगर आप नॉर्मल स्टील के बर्तन में भी खाना खाएंगे तो काम चल जाएगा. रूबीज, ऑब्वियसली नॉट. सो द करेक्ट ऑप्शन इज ऑप्शन बी. A large textile company in Surat needs cotton but faces slowdown because cotton supply is delayed. Which missing link in the supply chain is responsible? तो इसमें कौन सा मिसिंग लिंक है जिसकी वजह से कठिनाई का सामना करना पड़ रहा है? स्लो डाउन क्यों हो रहा है? रिटेलर, डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर, सर्टिफिकेशन एजेंसी या कंज्यूमर? कंज्यूमर तो ऑब्वियसली नहीं है बिकॉज कॉटन सप्लाई की बात हो रही है. So obviously it is a case of the entire distribution network. So option B. So distributors move goods across distances. Delay affects the entire चेन. तो अगर एक जगह से दूसरी जगह डिस्ट्रीब्यूट नहीं हुआ तो ऑब्वियसली जिस जगह पर जाना था वहां पर माल नहीं आएगा, तो वहां पर लोग खरीदारी नहीं कर पाएंगे. द फेमस पोर्चुगीज ट्रैवलर डोमिंगो स्पेस रेफर्ड टू द हम्पी बाजार एज द बेस्ट प्रोवाइडेड सिटी इन द वर्ल्ड, जिसकी की तस्वीर आपकी टेक्स्ट बुक में है. ड्यू टू द वाइड वैरायटी ऑफ प्रोडक्ट्स traded including gold, silver, gold, silk, animals and rubies. This historical description highlights which primary function of markets: price monitoring by the government, fulfilling the needs and wants of people through trade. The role of B star, no. The necessity of cold storage, no. So the correct option is option B. A farmer is promised that for his wheat crop, the government will not allow the price to fall below a certain level. So he will not make a loss even if the market prices fall. What is the main purpose of this kind of, इस तरह की जो सरकार जो एक्शन लेती है उसका मेन इरादा क्या है, मेन पर्पस क्या है? To make wheat more expensive, no. To protect farmers by setting a minimum price, this one, B. But let's look at C and D. To stop wholesalers from working in markets, to force farmers to grow only wheat, no. The correct option is option B. The government, sometimes it's called the MSP, the minimum support price. The government sometimes fixes a minimum price for essential crops so that farmers are protected from very low prices and do not incur heavy losses. 15th question. Which label assures quality of agricultural produce? This is pretty simple. It is Agmark, option C. AG, agriculture. You can remember it like that. Okay. B star will be essentially for energy efficiency, mainly among electronic appliances. A shop charges 60 rupees for a product whose MRP is 55 rupees. So 5 रुपया ज्यादा चार्ज कर रहा है. Which statement is correct? The shop can charge any amount. This violates pricing rules as sellers are not supposed to charge above the MRP. उसके उतना या उससे कम ही चार्ज कर सकते हैं. Government fixes minimum, not maximum prices. Only wholesalers must follow MRP. The correct option is option B. Retailers cannot legally charge more than the printed MRP, which is mentioned on the minimum, maximum retail price is mentioned on the product. A farmer sees high demand for guavas this season and earn good profit. What is he most likely to do the next season? इस साल उसने अमरूद बेचकर काफी मुनाफा कमाया, तो वो अगले सीजन क्या करेगा? ओके, स्टॉप ग्रोइंग guavas. क्या वो अमरूद ग्रो करना बंद कर देगा? ऑब्वियसली बेवकूफ थोड़ी है, क्यों करेगा? तो ऑप्शन ए तो कट दिया. Reduce his supply to keep prices high? ना. Increase production and anticipating continued demand, ये करने के chances उसके ज्यादा हैं. Wait for wholesalers to fix a price? No. So option C. Profit signals farmers to increase supply. क्यों? इस साल ज्यादा हुआ है तो अगले साल भी होगा, उस सोच के साथ he will increase his production next year. 18th question. A shopkeeper buys 100 kg of rice from the distributor for 50 rupees per kg and sells it to consumers in small 1 kg packets for 55 rupees. So 100 kg 50 रुपए में पर केजी में खरीदता है और एक केजी पैकेट्स को 55 रुपए में, यानी कि वो 5 रुपए का मुनाफा. He tries to earn a profit of 5 rupees per kg. So the shopkeeper is acting as a wholesaler, manufacturer, no, producer or a retailer. The correct answer is a retailer. A shopkeeper gives haldi kumkum free with purchase. What does this show about markets? Markets serve economic purpose. Markets also preserve cultural traditions. Ye wala. Option B is the correct one. Okay, because this is associated with social customs among women in India. A factory making plastic toys releases untreated waste into a river nearby. The toys are sold widely and give good profits to the producer. Which statement correctly explains why the government may need to step in here? So इसमें चारों ऑप्शंस पढ़ो and think about which is the right option. What do you think is the right option? Yeah, option C, because it is creating harmful side effects on the environment. Option C, when markets cause negative effects such as pollution that hurt people and the environment, the government intervenes by making and enforcing regulations. Now, after these 20 questions, let's now move to the definitions. What is a market? Okay, these are all going to be formally written definition. So हर definition को याद रखना जरूरी है along with the keyword. इसमें keyword क्या होगा? A market is any place physical or online. Physical or online is a key phrase where buyers and sellers interact to exchange goods or services at an agreed price. Okay, this is a market. What is an aggregator? An aggregator is a business that collects products from multiple. For example, Uber is an aggregator. Ola is an aggregator, right? You are kind of anybody can list themselves. तो अगर आप करेंगे तो ओला जो सबसे पास में गाड़ी होगी वो आपके पास आएगी in order to take you from place A to place B. Stores them in the warehouse and delivers them to consumers who buy it through their app or the website. Aggregator is an important definition. I hope आपको पूरी तरह से ये समझ में आ गया है. अगर समझ में नहीं आया तो explanation वीडियो को जल्दी से एक बार फिर से देख लीजिए. Who is a wholesaler? A wholesaler buys goods in large quantities from producers and sells them in smaller bulk to retailers, helping maintain steady supply and storage. The wholesaler is one step above the retailer. Wholesaler ज्यादा quantities में ही हमेशा खरीदेगा और बेचेगा. Define public goods. Because retailer से आप 1 किलो आधा किलो वगैरह खरीद सकते हैं, wholesaler से नहीं खरीद सकते. Public goods are services such as parks, roads, and policing that are provided by the government because they benefit everyone and cannot be sold for private profit. And these could be anything: roads, gardens, parks, etc. Define certification marks. Now, this is the AG mark, FSSAI, ISI, B kind of marks. So they help consumers judge whether a product meets safety and quality standards. This phrase is very important और आपको ये examples भी mention करने पड़ेंगे. Define price. Price is the amount at which a buyer is willing to buy a particular good or service and a seller is willing to sell that same good or service. It is a critical factor in completing a transaction. This is important क्योंकि अगर वो price decide नहीं होगा, अगर price decide नहीं होगा तो ये कैसे पता चलेगा कि मैं कितने दाम पर बेचूं और आप कितने दाम में खरीदेंगे, right? And is often determined through negotiation or bargaining until a mutually agreeable point is reached. So you decide or you bargain saying that no, 80 rupees is too much. Let's agree for 50 and finally you agree for 65, right? Define export. Export is the selling of goods or services that are produced within a country to a buyer who is located in another country. Export and import के बीच का difference you should know. Import is when you get a good from another country into your country. Export is when you send it out. Is the selling of goods and services that are produced within your country to another country. Okay. Define trade. Trade is defined as the buying and selling or exchange of goods or services between people or countries. Historically, markets relied on trade to fulfill needs and wants for goods and services. What is import? Trade, import, export. These definitions are important. Aggregator, very important. होलसेलर, रिटेलर, डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर, these are all, इसमें काफी सारे definitions है जिसके बारे में आपको याद रखना जरूरी है. So please pay attention to that. What is import? Import is the purchase of goods or services produced in another country and bringing them into one's own country. For example, India importing crude petroleum or vegetable oils from another countries is an import activity. Define distributor, what I just now told you, is an individual or business who supplies goods from manufacturers and wholesalers to retailers. Okay, so he's the link between wholesaler and retailer because he distributes that goods into many smaller pockets. Okay, let's look at the fill in the blanks. The B star rating tells consumers about the energy efficiency of an electrical appliance. The FSSAI mark ensures the safety of food items. You could also write quality. Both words will be accepted. Quality is probably better. Okay. Next one. Domestic markets refer to buying and selling that happens within the dash of a country. So within the limits of a country or the boundaries of a country. Special warehouses used to keep perishable goods like vegetables and fruits fresh by maintaining low temperatures are called cold storage facilities. Wholesalers usually store large volumes of goods in buildings called warehouses or godowns. You can write either of the two words. Section D, true or false. Retailers usually buy goods in large quantities from producers. क्या retailers directly खरीदते हैं from producers? No, this is false because wholesalers buy in bulk, not retailers. Bargaining and negotiation are common features in all types of market, including super bazaars and large malls. Large malls and super bazaar में generally fixed price रहता है, वहां पर जाकर आप negotiation और bargaining नहीं कर सकते हैं. It is less common in markets like malls. छोटे मार्केट या किराना शॉप में या किसी रेडी वाले दुकान में it is more common. Okay. A buyer will be at a disadvantage if the government fixes the price of a product too low, as producers would lose the motivation to will be disadvantage if the government fixes the price as too low, as the producer would lose the motivation to produce. Yeah, it is true. This one is true because low prices can lead to low supply, disadvantage because वो product available ही नहीं होगा. अगर वो available ही नहीं होगा तो आपको मिलेगा नहीं और आपको उस particular product की जरूरत पड़ सकती है, right? अगर गवर्नमेंट ने डिसाइड कर दिया कि पेंसिल का दाम बहुत ही कम, हर पेंसिल को 1 रुपए में ही बेचना पड़ेगा, तो वो बेचेगा, वो बोलेगा कि नहीं, जितना वो लेड का और लकड़ी का काम होता है और कारीगरी का काम होता है, उतने में 1 रुपए में नहीं बेच सकता बिकॉज मुझे अपना मुनाफा भी तो कमाना है. सो पेंसिल्स विल नॉट कम इनटू द मार्केट. हु लूजेस आउट? कंज्यूमर्स लाइक यू एंड मी. Public parks and roads are examples of public goods which are generally provided by the government rather than by private producers. This one is true. In online markets, buyers and sellers must be in the same town and no, this is false. Let's look at some long format questions and answers. 4 mark 1. Explain the role of the wholesaler and the retailer in the supply chain. How do their roles differ? The wholesaler and the retailer are essential participants in the chain of supply that moves goods from producer manufacturer to the final consumer. ये आपको कंफ्यूज नहीं होना है कि कहां से कहां तक वो गुड को ट्रांसफर किया जा रहा है, ट्रांसपोर्ट किया जा रहा है. What is the wholesaler's role? The wholesaler's primary role is to buy goods in large quantities directly from the producer or the manufacturer. They often store them in some godowns or warehouses. This may include cold storage. अगर पेरिशेबल गुड हो जो कि जल्दी खराब हो सकता है, मछली हो, सब्जी हो, फल हो, फूल हो, उनको कोल्ड स्टोरेज में रखा जाएगा, राइट? और उसके बाद उन प्रोडक्ट्स को डिस्ट्रीब्यूट किया जाएगा स्मॉल शॉपकीपर्स के पास. They also assess the quantity of product required by retailers कि इस पर्टिकुलर जगह, फॉर एग्जांपल एक फेस्टिवल आ रहा है, राइट? तो फेस्टिवल से पहले आपको मालूम है कि सभी को फूलों की जरूरत ज्यादा पड़ेगी, अलग अलग किस्म की सब्जियों की जरूरत पड़ेगी, फलों की जरूरत पड़ेगी. So you kind of increase the supply at that time because you know that this particular market will need that at this point in time. They also assess the quantity of product required by retailers, helping manufacturers maintain stock and ensure uninterrupted supply. Wholesalers deal in bulk and do not sell directly to the final consumer. What do the retailers do? The retailer, who is a shopkeeper, he buys goods in small quantities, let's say 20 kg, so that he can sell it off in half kg or 1 kg each from the wholesaler and sells them directly to the final consumers like households. Unlike wholesalers, retailers' products are meant for consumption, not resale. Okay, retailer उससे ज्यादा नहीं करेगा, वो आपको और हमें बेचेगा, उसके बाद उसका पूरा साइकिल खत्म हो जाता है. Retailers help increase the accessibility and availability ताकि आपको होलसेल मार्केट में नहीं जाना पड़े, आपके घर के पास के सुपरमार्केट या किराना शॉप से you can buy it. The key difference lies in the quantity of trade and the customer served. The wholesaler deals in large or bulk quantities and sells to retailers or other businesses for resale. The retailer deals in smaller quantities. तो ये large और smaller word लिखना जरूरी है, right? Quantities and sells them to the final consumer for consumption. Second question, what are the main features required for a place to be called a market? Describe the economic and non-economic roles that markets play in the lives of people. So a market is generally defined as a place where people buy and sell goods. This definition is important. Certain features are required for places to be called markets. What are the features? First feature, every market must have a buyer and a seller, because अगर सिर्फ buyer ही होगा, seller नहीं होगा, तो वो market किस काम का? या सिर्फ seller होगा and there is no buyer, what is the use of such a market? Crucially, both parties need to agree on a price at which the particular transaction can take place, making price an essential feature in completing the transaction. Markets can exist at a physical location or increasingly online, whether you order it on Flipkart or Amazon or any of the other clothes stores, etc. Right? Markets play a vital role in people's lives in both economic and non-economic dimensions. Economically, the primary role is to facilitate transactions between producers and consumers. So markets के क्या क्या role है? This answer is very important. So please make note of all the points that I have written there here, and you need to write it in the same kind of formal language. That's why I'm moving away from the screen. Economically, the primary role is to facilitate transaction, that is monetary transaction between producers and consumers. Markets enable individuals, households and business to access goods and services. Non-economically, markets are significant because they often connect people. अगर खरीदारी के beyond भी, you form relationships with the shopkeeper, with the auto rickshaw fellow who takes you to that particular market. So all that also becomes very important. So interactions in markets go beyond monetary exchange. So आपको ये point भी लिखना जरूरी है. Relationships are maintained. और यहां पर आप इसका एग्जाम्पल दे सकते हैं. इमा केथल मार्केट इन मणिपुर is a melting pot. Melting pot में melt नहीं हो रहा है, is basically where a lot of different kinds of people come together to exchange ideas and enjoy shared traditions. Explain how the interaction of demand and supply determines the price of goods using the examples of farmers throwing away excess produce. Explain what happens when the supply-demand balance fails and what role wholesalers can play in such situations. See, these questions are a little more tough. और इसको आंसर करने के लिए मोर थॉरो अंडरस्टैंडिंग की जरूरत है, इसीलिए मैंने इसका लेवल थोड़ा सा ऊपर रखा है. सो प्लीज, बिकॉज आई वांट ऑल माय स्टूडेंट्स टू स्कोर 100 on 100. No compromise on that. Okay, so prices are generally determined by the interaction between demand from buyers and supply by sellers. Demand is the quantity of a product or service consumers are willing and able to purchase at this thing. So price के बारे में आपको बताना पड़ेगा. So when a seller initially sets a high price, buyers may not agree to that kind of a price. या प्राइस बहुत ही लो होगा तो उससे उसको मुनाफा नहीं होगा, right? So it has to be the right kind of price. That means it is very important so that the transaction is completed successfully. When farmers, and now you need to give the example thing, when farmers have a large harvest like excess supply, like जैसे tomatoes का था, right? The supply demand balance can fail, leading to reports of farmers throwing away their produce. आपने कई reports पढ़े होंगे, tomatoes are being thrown away, onions are being thrown away because the supply is more than the demand, so the prices have crashed. They are not even able to recover the amount of money they have spent in growing that particular tomato or onion crop. This typically happens because the high supply when unmet by sufficient demand or adequate storage. Yeah, it is getting spoiled. You don't have enough cold storage facilities. So in that case, wholesalers can help by procuring the produce. So if it is something which can be stored, like wheat or rice, then it can be stored and it can be sold after a month or so. But if it is things like tomatoes and cauliflowers, which are vegetables, etc., you need to sell them off almost immediately. So this procurement helps prevent wastage and stabilizes the market by maintaining stock, ensuring the farmer is not at a complete loss. How do consumers assess the quality of products and services they buy? Okay, how do they assess? So इसमें आपको एगमार्क, FSSI वगैरह के बारे में पूरा लिखना पड़ेगा, BEE वगैरह के बारे में लिखना. So FSSI is on food packets, एगमार्क is on agricultural products, ISI mark from Bureau of Indian Standards indicates that manufacturer items such as electrical goods meet the national standards, and B star is about the energy efficiency rating of that particular product. It could be the air conditioner, fridge, even things like the stabilizer that is used for the electrical appliances. So buyers also rely on word of mouth reputation for friends, and this thing we say, okay, this particular brand ka stabilizer is considered good, this particular brand ka AC is considered good. So you also go by what some other friend or relative tells you. Last question, explain with an example how prices are determined in a market through the interaction of buyers and sellers. In a market, buyers want to pay as little as possible while sellers want to get the highest possible price. I think this entire paper is 55 marks, not 50 marks. So the final price is decided through negotiation between demand and supply. For example, और यहाँ पर आप उस अमरूद वाले का example यहाँ दे सकते हैं. When there are many buyers and sellers, repeated transaction as such, prices help settle just right price so that both parties are agreeable on a particular price. So that is how the price is decided. Okay, with this I come to the end of this particular chapter's test paper video. I hope दोनों economics के chapters from your first textbook of social science, you are absolutely clear on that, because I always prepare very comprehensive paper so that it helps you in revision. It also helps you test yourself that okay, मुझे इतना कुछ मालूम है, यहाँ पर मुझे आंसर नहीं मालूम था और ये वर्ड्स का मुझे ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा when I'm writing the 3 mark 4 mark kind of answer to questions. Okay, tata, bye bye, thank you very much. Share the video, hype the video, and subscribe to CBSE with Sudhir.